Hello everybody, Dante here. So this is the first video to the channel in a while that isn't channeling or astrology content. If anyone new to this is hopping in, I am an intuitive healer and channel, and I want to talk today about this situation in occupied Palestine, Gaza, and this will be sort of the last content I make of this nature. I haven't made any videos, but I have written many posts on Facebook, and there are several reasons why I want to finish creating my own content. One is because this is occupying a lot of my mental space and it's delaying some of my other creative projects, though I think that's natural and it's important that those of us who care deeply and are truly empathic take the time to honor what is happening. And I took a step back and realized it wasn't all about me. And as this almost 30-day conflict is escalating, and right now people in Gaza are nearing, they are dehydrated, they are starved, they have white phosphorus on their skin, they've been traumatized through all of this time of bombing, and they're being turned into human shields by the Western media and human animals by the Israeli media. It is absolutely horrific, as I've said many times before. And I want this last piece of content that I'm personally generating to be a sort of conclusion, one, mostly because I'm not an expert and I'm not on the ground, and I want to put the voices out there of the people who are and the people who are truly involved in the situation, and also the true experts. I've learned a lot through diving down the rabbit hole on Instagram and doing my own searches and exploring everything that's out there. All of the biggest human rights organizations in the world, like Human Rights Watch, like Amnesty International, and many others are Democracy Now! They have been documenting for many years the horrendous things going on in occupied Palestine, and really there's no need for me to be repeating all of these facts to strangers on the internet. If somebody truly has an open mind, they're going to take into consideration all of the information from these reputable sources, well-researched, well-documented sources that are out there, as well as the content from the people on the ground in Gaza. And I'm sharing a lot of these stories to my Instagram page. And so check the stories, my stories. I'm going to continue to share these things because I feel like it's really important that we observe and we take in this information. And quantum physics shows that observed particles behave differently when we observe them, and so does the world around us out there. Even if it's just us knowing that this is happening and sending positive energy to this situation, it's having an effect. And I have encouraged others to take a stand. I don't want to be forcing, coercing, guilting, or shaming others to take a stand. And I understand that there's many reasons why people are not yet at a point of being able to do so. And I might come back to that. What I really want to say is, give me a moment. What I really want to focus on is the arguments that I want to make for the most common questions. And I'm doing this so that people can be able to respond in clear ways, but I'm also doing this for myself so that I don't have to continue to force myself to have these challenging conversations, and I can focus more on things that are really going to help this situation and not be so emotionally stuck on it myself, as it has prevented me from creatively progressing. I have been thinking about this in moments of my life when I ought to simply just be having fun or relaxing. It's one of the biggest atrocities that has happened in my lifetime. There's now more people dead than in 9/11, and in all of some occupation of, I don't know, some random statistic. It doesn't matter. Gosh, so more unedited cut of things coming up. So first thing, people are asking, do you condemn Hamas? I condemn Hamas's atrocious attack and mass murder of some thousand people. That's horrendous, and how could I not condemn that? However, I do also condemn IDF for the brutal treatment of so many Palestinians and so many hundreds, if not thousands, of lives that have been lost in recent history and over the entire course of Israel occupying the land that is Palestine. I condemn that instead of seeking out a harmonious and just path of immigration to the land of Palestine, that the Zionist community decided to simply seize the land with the assistance of imperial powers. I also condemn the imperial powers that enabled that land grab to happen. Those powers being the USA and first and foremost the UK, who put across the Balfour Declaration, allowing Israel to be created and allowing for the mass migration and land theft to begin. While I'm at it, I may as well condemn the occupying Ottoman Empire, who had control of this land for hundreds of years. I can condemn the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, and of course the Roman Empire, not in that order, as well. And I can condemn even these initial clans and peoples of the lands who battled each other. And what I'm getting at here is that these acts of violence are historic, and they go back so many hundreds of years. And after having arguments with certain people, I recognize that from their perspective, this concept that is so dear to my own heart of total peace and total nonviolence is something that they can't even conceive of. And yet it's real, and what is also a real possibility is that we end this way of behaving and stealing things from each other and killing each other. It's possible that we as the human race don't do that anymore. It's possible that we as the human race practice a peaceful and harmonious coexistence, though in order to get there, it's going to take a lot of shifts and changes. There is also another side to my response to this question, do I condemn Hamas? And that is, while I totally still condemn Hamas, I understand the container that has given birth to Hamas. And as I condemn all of the predecessors that enacted violence that has rippled back and forth across time since, I have to take into account that Palestine has no one supporting them. They have no army. They don't have a government. And they've rejected a two-state solution, but that two-state solution gave them horrible deals and did not recognize how much land has been increasingly encroached upon and converted into Zionist settlements over the past 75 years, and increasingly so. I am a pacifist, but in a world where there is so much attack and aggression and oppression, all people who exist as a nation state have the right to their own army, and the Palestinians instead live in a police state where they are controlled and surveyed and separated from the Israeli occupied and controlled land. Sorry, it's all occupied and controlled, but the Israeli inhabit places, and even from their own land through the crazy amount of checkpoints. While I condemn Hamas's actions, the people of Palestine need a government and they need an army. I wish it weren't so, and my personal beliefs include to do away with violence and weapons and even borders eventually. These are radical views. They aren't pertaining to one political school of thought. It is more spiritually based, and that is a whole different topic. Though I'd simply like to say at this point, borders and separation are a violent act innately. Now, the third and most important part to this question, do I condemn Hamas, is, don't you also condemn the brutal attacks on Gaza that have now killed 9,000, almost 10,000 people, 3,000 or 4,000 children, and is the largest violent attack of the 21st century, killing more people than so many other things? Do you not condemn that? How can you not condemn that? How can all of these people be human shields? And so then the next question, well, if we are not supposed to bomb all of these human shield, human animals in order to get Hamas, how do we get Hamas? The response to that is with a secret forces unit that is specially trained to go in there and eliminate the terrorists. Those things exist. Those aspects of the army are real. It is not impossible to do that. If you have delved down many rabbit holes, you'll see that you don't need even to dive down the rabbit hole, forget that thought. I basically can say no more, because it is impossible to call killing that many civilians defense in any way, and that really needs to be the end of the discussion. There are my personal responses that I'm developing here, and then there are also some slides that make all of this so much easier that I will include as well. I'll post them to the YouTube community tab along with this video. So if you haven't seen that yet, go onto the YouTube channel, clicking Dante Starshine, and go to the communities tab, and I'll post these images that simplify all of these things that I'm saying. I'm sure grateful for them, because I'm tired of explaining myself, even though I'm totally capable after watching so many videos. The logic of the people that are indoctrinated by the other videos is something that is sometimes difficult to grapple with. Let's just move on to the third question. And the third question that often gets asked is, then what should be done? And what should be done first and foremost is a ceasefire. We don't have to have a very elaborate strategy beyond, hey, stop killing babies, stop killing 300 or 400 people a day, I think is the number. Stop bombing hospitals, stop bombing ambulances and schools and radio towers, poisoning and contaminating water, making people starve, sleep deprived, traumatized, dehydrated in the world's largest open-air prison. There certainly is no need to do all of that to defeat Hamas. We don't need to have any complete and well thought out plan for all of the other steps beyond the first step, which is stop killing all of the people, stop torturing 2 million people. You know what step comes after that is really the solution. Is it this two-state solution? Well, people say Palestine has rejected this before, but it came on awful terms. Would it be from the river to the sea? Do I think Israel must completely go away? No, I don't think that. Just because some person in Hamas or elsewhere thinks that giving my support to Palestine does not mean I think Israel needs to give all of that land back. However, there needs to be the level of self-conscience in seeing, oh, we stole that land in the first place. We seized this land to begin with. We didn't say, oh, hey, we're going to be neighbors. We said, no, we're going to take all of this and we are going to subject you to tortures and sanctions and control. So yes to a two-state solution, and yes to one that actually makes it sound appealing to the Palestinians. Obviously, we have to recognize as well that there's nothing Israel could do to make up for the horrendous damage that Israel's done to Palestinian people and Palestinian lives for the past 75 years. And that there's absolutely no way to quell the bitterness and the resentment in some of these people's hearts entirely. Though the humanity and the compassion to recognize the harm caused, and that no, we weren't just entitled to this because of our long and distant ancestors. Some of that land has to go back. And there has to be an apology. And I think only with time can that apology truly become sincere. Though we have to at least open our minds to how can healing such a violent relationship ever take place. It's a very bold assertion to ask people who believe in their own superiority to consider the concept of oneness. This is something that in the spiritual videos that I create and other creators like me share with you, those of us who are on the more metaphysical journey and have the freedom and open-mindedness and have been given the gift of an incarnation where these ideas and these experiences are available to us, are innately so much more open to that concept of oneness. I think some people take this concept of oneness so far that they don't actually see that here in this realm, despite oneness being the nature from which we are birthed, we are in duality and we are in multiplicity. An aspect of duality is polarity, and polarity is the ways that energies take on extremes that sometimes oppose each other even though they are innately one. And oftentimes these polarities are necessary to generate change and evolution and growth over time. However, in the moment when we are lost in these polarities, they suck us in to seeing things in all or nothing ways. If we were to dive into this in a more psychological way, we can see that also our own psyches polarize, where we develop opposing subpersonalities or parts with different belief systems that attempt to manage our lives in different ways. I'm not fully going to go there, but I'm mentioning it, and it relates to this in an interesting way that I think sometimes people have a hard time fathoming. How can I respond? What position do I have in these circumstances because of those subpersonalities who all have different beliefs and will see the situation in a different way? Though really this polarity was coming up because one of the biggest polarities that plays out is between a perpetrator and a victim. This dynamic is real. And a lot of people get caught up in stories they learn about the victim complex. And when somebody is victimized, they can develop this psychological story that continues to leads them to continue to behave in ways that will make them susceptible to be victimized again, or sometimes attract in different ways these circumstances. I'm saying that yes, the victim complex is real, and that oftentimes people genuinely create the experience of being cast in victim role again, though some people take that understanding in a way that becomes victim shaming, and that's very different from what I'm saying. Because in recognizing that a victim complex is real, we have to recognize that also a victim is real. Victims are created through the acts of perpetrators, and it's a very disempowering experience. In order for the victim to really heal, the victim has to acknowledge that they've been victimized, and validation from others in that experience is really helpful. And there's a gradual reclaiming of one's power that takes place as well. If we have to heal from the wounds of a perpetrator, it can be helpful for them to apologize, but it is not necessary. An apology, a true acknowledgement of the harm caused and how it wasn't just, would be something that would really restore that relationship between these two peoples and these two nations. My realistic perspective is that it's going to take a long time for such a thing to happen, but it starts now. It starts now with the sense of sorrow, right? Sorrow, I'm sorry. Sorrow, sorry, the same root. Our sadness and our ability to apologize and make amends go hand in hand. We need to feel the sadness of that immense loss. We can't bypass the sadness of that immense loss. And we need to apologize to the other with our sorrow and seeing how we've caused them so much pain. It may or may not have been our intention, though we transform, that we become a new person when we recognize the harm and the wrongness of our past actions. I don't expect Netanyahu or IDF to have a total epiphany and all of a sudden be, oh, I'm ready to apologize now, dear Palestine. Though there's a lot of stubborn people who haven't yet opened their understanding to how colonial this experience of occupied Palestine is, that can be some of those first people to wake up and to apologize and to have that spirit of asking for forgiveness and asking, what can we do to truly be allies with one another? So that's what I see as the solution, is a two-state solution, and one that comes with giving back some of the land and giving a sincere, or as sincere as can be, apology to the people of Palestine. The solution might include an interim UN-sponsored government. There is concern that in a place that has had such trauma and incredible human rights violations enacted with no real infrastructure, that how can they just go into having a stable government? There's no denying that won't be easy, and I'm not an expert, but I don't have to be to say it needs to happen, and a ceasefire needs to happen first. It's just not okay. All of these dead children and dead people and ruined lives and starving, dehydrated, tortured people, it's not okay. Okay, and the last thing that comes up that I want to respond to is you saying that, and you being anti-Israel is being anti-Semitic. I want to say this argument is a cheap shot. I don't fall for it. You are Islamophobic. I can just as easily say, oh, well, you are now Islamophobic because you are siding with the occupying, colonizing agent that is Israel, that did not exist before 1945, and there was no grounds for. You are Islamophobic because you think this government is correct in what they're doing. So if you support Netanyahu and all of these people, calling them human animals and saying that they will completely flatten Gaza and the horrible things they say. And you see, this is a bit of a deadlock. You say I'm anti-Semitic, I say you're Islamophobic. Does not get very far. What I can also say is that there are many Jews that are not Zionists. Gabor Mate, who is a famous expert on the field of trauma, he's a doctor, is an anti-Zionist. He was a former Zionist and got the ends of Israel and occupied Palestine and came to reject it and seeing the brutality that it caused, and he is a Holocaust survivor. There are many, many other Jews that are posting and actively protesting Zionist Israel. Their voices are many. There's actually entire sects of Judaism that don't agree with Israel and Zionism. I've heard some Hasidic Jews saying that Zionism and Israel are co-opting their religion and exploiting it. And I've seen videos of Jews reading the Torah and some commandments and demonstrating that exactly what Netanyahu's government is doing is not Jewish. It violates their holy laws. When I condemn Israel and Netanyahu, I'm not condemning the people, I'm condemning the actions of the elite governments that chose to make all of these things happen and are calling the shots. I'm not condemning all of the people as individuals, though I think their actions are harmful and their practices are harmful when they steal land from others. And I am greatly bothered that anyone can defend this. I'm not condemning them as individuals, and I certainly am not criticizing and judging all Jewish people, because there's many Jewish people that are shocked and abhorred, even more so than I am shocked and abhorred about what is happening, and they're saying a lot about it. And this cannot be anti-Semitic if these Jews are saying that what is happening goes against their religion. That's all for this video. I want to keep it to the points, and these are simply the ways that I want to respond to these big questions that are thrown at me, and the even shorter graphics that I will post on the community tab are even better. They're quick, they're short, they're sweet, though if somebody is willing to engage me in the full discussion, these are the things that I would say. And if somebody is willing to read everything, then this is what I would share with them, as I will make a transcript from this as well. And I want to just end again by emphasizing the importance of keeping our eyes open and knowing that as we're seeing the reality of what's taking on, we're planting the seeds of transforming that in reality with our thoughts and prayers. Even if you don't know what you're doing, by participating in the collective consciousness of humanity actively, you are having an impact simply by observing and by speaking your voice and by interacting with others and by sending your love and prayers out for peace and safety and healing for all of these people on both sides who are suffering and in a lot of pain and a lot of everything. You need not be afraid to open your voice if your heart calls you to speak. First your eyes see, and then your heart understands, and then you may open your mouth and move your body to act. It's inevitable that we will ruffle some feathers and we might polarize some friends, we might affect our own business. Yet this is one of the greatest atrocities of our time. And if you live in a Western nation, your government is condoning this. The USA and the European Union are condoning this massive killing of so many people that is ethnic cleansing and a genocide, and has been going on for 75 years. And this is not a single incident. This is not us versus them. This is unity and peace and love and the protection of all people versus fear and aggression. There's no battle between this and that person. It's love versus fear. Love gives you the power to open your eyes, and your heart guides you to make sure you look at both sides. And when you do look at both sides with a balanced and pure heart, you will inevitably see, as I have said, that Palestine is being horribly brutalized and turned into victims. It's really a brutal tragedy. Even in posting this as a video to YouTube, which is a platform that I haven't personally shared my beliefs upon about this subject yet, I feel a little nervous. Maybe I'll lose some subscribers. Though, as I know people who have met me and connected with my energy and felt my intention for love and peace and unity, and they felt my fun, loving, caring, and kind spirit, and they see me supporting Palestine, they will know that it is not without reason. And the people who cannot hear my voice and are so upset and oppositional, I don't really need my life and I don't need their money. I will feel better and more clear when I know I'm making my energy exchanges with people who have true compassion and openness and nonviolence in their hearts. I just don't need blood money. I don't need friends who love blood money. So if I'm losing blood money by speaking my truth, I trust that the universe will redirect me towards much more virtuous friends, money, clients, followers, and all of this. And by speaking your truth on anything, you're allowing that filtration process of the universe to clear from your field and your life the energies that don't resonate with who you truly are and what you really stand for. It can be hard when something polarizes people so much to accept that letting go process, though these recent years have showed me very clearly that these big divides that play out don't make you lose people that you're meant to keep around. And after, there is that shake off and redirection of, okay, who is really on board with this understanding and this way of seeing the world, then you can create the connections that really matter more to you. It nonetheless shocks me when I see friends who are such seemingly peace-loving, well-intended, heart-open people that were really dear friends in my life go all out in their support of Israel and their lack of condemnation of their Israel's actions, and their use of some of these arguments against me in such horrible ways, using horrible language to me, insulting me, and the hordes of people who instantly blocked me. And you know what? Seeing this just shows how much the kinds of people who are making any of these arguments are just kind of like, don't look, don't hear, don't experience it, like block yourself out from it. And that is the way that the IDF propaganda has had to work for these people so much of their lives, is don't look out there, don't think of it this way, you must have this and only this perspective on this. And that kind of scary authoritarian energy I don't need. Okay, and the very last thing people say to me that I will include in here as a response is that, but Hamas hates gay people, they kill gay people. And I don't know if that's true, I haven't researched that. Sharia law prevents acts of homosexuality. Also, I know in Arabic countries, things that are not seen and known go unchecked. It's when you become too public that these things become an issue. Nonetheless, it's of course horrible that homophobia exists in the Islamic world, and also In an issue of human rights, the first and most important right is the right to exist and be alive. If you're not alive, you can't be a free, happy gay. I've seen many videos of gay Palestinians stand with Palestine, and no videos of gay Palestinians saying, yes, thank you, you're freeing us from Hamas. This is not a topic. You need to listen to the queers from that place, and also just fundamentally respect life. The right to be alive is more important than any other right. There will be no progress on any social issues or education until Palestine is free from Israel. We'll work on the other rights later. Yes, many countries out in the Middle East are regimes, and they are scary, right-wing dictatorships. They're not treating their people worse than IDF is treating Palestinians. End of story. Now that I've literally talked all these arguments out, I just feel like I talk to a wall, I see how baseless the arguments made against my positions have been. I don't want to get too satirical or judgmental, but it has really felt like talking to a wall and trying to express some of these things to others. Now I'm praying that I can be of some sort of help by encouraging people to speak up, call Congress or call your government, protest if you can protest. I'm in a very small town in Mexico. There's no protest near me. If I were still in the US, I would be on the streets. Your voice is powerful, please use it. And let yourself be open to see everything that's out there. Let's allow this to strengthen our love and our connection to others. Let's allow this to open us up to the depths of compassion. Suffering, whether it is our own suffering or another person's suffering, can be one of the most powerful teachers of compassion that allows us to feel into the depth of the intensity of the human experience and appreciate that suffering with love and affection and prayer that it may be resolved. This is one of the most heart-opening energies to hold. And so when we look into the horrors of the world, not away from them, can we cultivate that compassion? And yes, we have limits, and that's part of me experiencing my limit here, is that I can't endlessly have these conversations, and I can't let this suck up my creative energy and just writing about the experiences that I'm having, trying to talk to people about this, because it's really taxing on me, and it's really like a cognitive dissonance of seeing the psychology of somebody who's this deeply programmed and trying to have an argument with that. If your heart says do it, nothing is a waste of time. It's all about following and acting on your highest excitement, and I hope your highest excitement guides you to spread love and truth. And yes, keep your eyes open, and also self-care, love. Let this open you to love, and the connections you make in love are going to be what fortify you, as that's the energy we need to move through this. We need to recognize our unity and that we cannot suppress and attack and kill each other. We need each other. We cannot exploit each other. We cannot wage war on other humans so that we gain. We cannot cause some people to have less and less opportunity and abundance so some other people have more. And we need to face the world for what it is. Open your eyes to everything that's happening, not just in Gaza, but in the Congo, in Azerbaijan, in Myanmar, what happened in Sri Lanka, what happens in so many places in Africa. Genocide, oppression, war. We do nothing. There's a question of what can we do, but we can know and acknowledge it's taking place. Some people comment about the silence, about all of the other tragic things that have happened, as a sort of interesting question of, well, why are you so upset about Palestine now? It is upsetting because it's our Western governments who are directly paying for it. And they're inundating with information that makes the Western people want to support that and condone that. We're being brainwashed and lied to. One of the greatest tragedies, atrocities, and biggest genocides of our time is happening right before us in our eyes, and they're trying to tell us it's something that it is not. They're trying to tell us it is not this genocide, but it's genocide that we're paying for. I keep pausing and starting the video, so it's not as organic, but I'm also trying to prevent myself from getting too emotional in doing that. I don't want to just appeal to emotions, but I want to express that, yes, this is something that brings up a lot for me. And it's also something that feels sensitive to talk about because it's not normally the content of this channel. I really need to end this video now. Anyway, the most important thing you can do is keep your eyes open and share the information you see. And pray and develop that compassion and connection that's going to change this world. Appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and if you think that there's somebody who really needs to hear this video, share it with them. But the most important thing to share at this time is not my perspective, it's the actual factual truth from the organizations like the Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Democracy Now!, and the accounts and experiences and perspectives of Palestinians on the ground in Gaza and in the West Bank. Share the undoubtable history and the many sources that share that history. When an intelligent and compassionate and unbiased person takes all of this information in, they will agree: free Palestine, stop genocide, and help the Palestinian people heal and recover and become an independent nation and a freed people. Share their voices, share this information, share the facts. Don't allow the disinformation warfare to stop the freedom and liberation of these people. So much of the world is standing with Palestine. It's Western nations that are duped, where protests are illegal in Germany and France, and Western media in all of the world is saturated in an apologetic stance towards Israel, when none of this is okay, and it hasn't been okay for so many people. And it hasn't been good for the earth. And there's videos that document how there's so much information about how the migrating Ashkenazi Jews changed the climate or the ecosystem of Palestine in horrible ways, and killed thousands and thousands of olive trees that take a very long time to grow and mature. This is about indigenous rights, and I haven't got into all of those details. I just wanted to refute the very basic points, and perhaps slightly selfishly air part of what I've been feeling as well through this one last process that is a release for me from getting my mind too enmeshed in this and writing another post or another thing about it instead of just sharing what others are posting. That's what's most important. Thank you for watching, and thank you for opening your heart. Free Palestine, and free all of the stateless people in the world. There are many others like the Kurds and the Tamils of Sri Lanka that don't have their own state, and because of the partition of colonial powers, notably the British Empire, have been at war by their own countries for a long time. The government does not represent those people, and the government attacks and limits and harms those people in horrible ways. All Western nations have committed genocide and have benefited from it, and while we make these false apologies, we perpetuate it, and it's horrible. Understanding the power of a decolonized world is liberating yourself from so many of the shackles of the colonizer mentality that make us slaves as individuals without knowing it. And I'm going to end there, as that might be a good point to pick up at another time in later video or content that isn't so much zoomed into this and can bring it back a little bit into the field that I work very well in, which is the field of our own personal energy and psychic and spiritual development. I hope to do that, but this is really important because it is such a shocking tragedy and travesty. Look a good number. I love you. Bye.